Boo, everybody, and welcome back to the HabWrap. I'm your host, Harry Rice. You are listening to the friendliest and funniest source for anything and everything Montreal Canadiens related. That is right. And wow, another very solid game for the Montreal Canadiens. They played tonight against the Minnesota Wild, who are one of the better teams in the National Hockey League. They are third currently in the very stacked Central Division, I should say. They had a chance to get into second tonight, or I should say remain second tonight. They come out of tonight third, spoiler, as the Dallas Stars would beat the Boston Bruins, but the Wild come in tonight with a chance to remain that second seed. However, would they get it done? Spoiler, but no, they would not. The Canadiens had a very, very impressive game. A couple big things to note, of course, and we will talk about those things for sure during the game. First of all, first thing we have to note are, of course, the lines, because you can't play a hockey game without the lines. Always remember that, ladies and gentlemen. The opening lines for the Canadiens were Slavkovsky, Kapanen, Demidov, Caufield, Suzuki, Doc. That's right, Kirby Doc is back in the lineup. That's always awesome. Anderson, Danault, Gallagher, so the 2021 squad back together on that line. I know they didn't play on the line. It was Gallagher with Danault and Tatar, but Anderson's kind of taking that Tatar role without the 60-point season. And Bolduc, Evans, Veleno were on the fourth line for the Canadiens. On the blue line, Matheson, Dobson, Hutson with Struble, and Gooley with Carrier. So that's right, no Arbor Jacki tonight. Unfortunately, the Canadiens did scratch Arbor Jacki tonight. Very unfortunately, as I really like Arbor Jacki, obviously, as I'm sure you guys know by now. But yeah, so Jacki's a scratch. You guys might be wondering, Harry, where's Texier? There's no way he's a scratch, right? No, Texier is out with a day-to-day injury, so thankfully not a healthy scratch, not, disapproved of by Marty, but just he's a scratch. Hopefully he's good for the Buffalo game, if not the Boston game on Saturday, which I will let you guys know right away. The Boston game on Saturday, I will not be here for the night it happens. I will very likely come up with a review on Sunday, because not that these usually don't go out the day after technically, but you get what I mean. Because we're actually going to be at a wedding on Saturday, and I will be able to record the game on my phone. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to record it. I'm going to watch it afterwards, and then, like I said, Sunday afternoon probably I'll come up with a review of the game. And we'll do our thoughts then, and we're going to have some fun. Hopefully Montreal has another victory in store, both on Thursday and Saturday, but especially on Saturday against the Boston Bruins. So we will see at that point what happens in those games. However, just wanted to bring that up real quick before I forgot. Now, into this game, the opening lines for the Wild. Goaltenders, Jesus. Jakub Dobeš gets the start for the Canadiens, and Samuel Montembeault backs him up. He gets a night off. That's always nice. The opening lines for the Wild were Kaprizov, Hartman, Zuccarello, Trenin, Yurov, Tarasenko, Foligno, Haight, Hinostroza, and Jones, Strome, Pitlick. Yes, that is Habs legend Tyler Pitlick. On the blue line, it's Hughes, Faber, Middleton, Spurgeon, and Hunt Juracek. So pretty solid blue line aside from Jacob Middleton and Brad Hunt. Not too bad, though. And in net, it would be Jesper Wallstrom, who gets the night between the pipes for the Wild, and Philip Gustafsson backs him up. Either way, we were going to face a very solid goaltender in this game, as I believe the Wild have the second highest goals against average, or the second highest goaltender save percentage. That's what I mean to say. They have the second highest goaltender save percentage in the NHL, so yeah. Before the game, as I already mentioned, Doc is back. Struble's in for Jacki. Dobeš gets to start. Texas out day to day. All right, 5 minutes in, let's get to the actual freaking game. So, the top line get in the zone in the opening minute. The second line has a good look. Demidov at the blue line ends up skating in. He finds Slafkovsky with a one-timer, a good look, but saved by Wallstead, sorry. I might have genuinely said Jesper Wallstead. Well, Jesper Wallstrom. For some reason, I'm having a very hard time pronouncing his name over the past, 3 days. Gallagher has a good backhand off of a nice steal, but that gets stopped. The fourth line have a press. Evans with a nice shot deflected by him, has a shot deflected by Evans, but that gets stopped. The Habs lead the shots 4-0, 3.5 in. The Canadiens had a very solid first half of the first period, just a very good first period overall. Hutson ends up tripping Kaprizov. Very lucky to not get a call there. Treinen has a hard hit along the boards. That was a very clean one there. Actually, a pretty solid check, if you ask me. The Wild end up getting their first shot. Evans looked really good early on. He has a nice dangle, but the shot is just wide. Kaprizov on a rush. That shot goes wide. It did look deflected, though. Hartman ends up hitting a post on a near shot. Demidov has a 2-on-1, a very nice toe drag. Gets the shot off the rebound with an open net for Oliver Kapanen. And my brain broke for about 20 seconds because I have no idea how that stayed out. Kapanen, it almost, so I doubt this would happen, but it looked like he double tapped it. It looked like he got the backhand off for the shot and then moved it forward to accidentally push it back out. That's what looked like it happened in real time. I don't think they ever ended up showing a replay of that, but somehow stays out of the net. The fourth line, I thought, was playing very well in the first period. The Evans, Bolduc, and Veleno line, especially Evans and Veleno, they seem to be working very well together on the fourth line. If the Canadiens, for whatever reason, were to deal off Bolduc when Laine comes back, I don't think there'd be much of an issue there, because Bolduc, I like Bolduc. He's just going through a very rough stretch right now. And it's obviously too early to tell if it's that he doesn't fit in Montreal or he's just going through a rough stretch. But I know there was talk of the Canadiens possibly trying to flip Bolduc for Sherwood, at least the Canadiens that were calling about Sherwood before he got dealt to San Jose. So I don't know. Maybe they're still looking to flip Bolduc. I don't know. But if they were to, when Laine comes back, it might not be a bad idea. I wouldn't really care for it, depending on what the return is, but we'll see. But yeah, so I thought the fourth line was going to get a couple extra shifts tonight. They wouldn't, really? Marty would just keep rolling the lines like he usually does, so yeah. And then the Habs go to a penalty kill, but the Wild do press beforehand. They actually look quite solid on said penalty kill. However, eventually, it does get called. Danault goes to the box for a slash, and in my opinion, it was a bad call. It was just not good. Halfway through the period, Danault's called for the slash on Faber. It was barely a slash. However, it doesn't matter. The Wild score 13 seconds in. Vlad Tarasenko gives the Wild a 1-0 lead. He's wide open in the right circle. A really nice one-timer that ends up beating Dobesh up high. You want to beat Dobesh, that's where you go. That's on just the Wild's second shot of the night. So, yeah, the Wild score on the power play. The Canadiens 0 for 1 on the penalty kill thus far tonight. There's a Bolduc shot out of play. The Canadiens kind of slowed down after the goal on the penalty kill, unfortunately. Habs end up getting a press. They get some pressure. Really good looks for the third line. There's a shot by Gouli and a rebound, and the Canadiens score. Phil Danault, finally his first goal back with Montreal, and finally for him his first goal of the season. 50 games in, Phil Danault, he scores on the rebound, goes 5-hole, a really, really nice play there. And actually, the shot apparently was tipped in front, because the assists have changed from when I marked them down on my my little sheet here because I had that it was from Goulet and Carrier, but Danault gets his first of the year officially from Anderson and Goulet. So either way, Goulet does get his first point since returning to the Montreal Canadiens lineup. That's always cool to see. That goal comes with just about 4:48 left, or 4:38, I should say, left in the first period. That's always solid. Habs then go to a power play. Ryan Hartman gets called for a trip with about 4 minutes left. The Wild do clear off of a battle along the boards. Caufield and Hutson have a near look, but Hutson tries to set up the score instead of shooting, or at least shooting for a rebound. The Wild do clear again shortly after. In the second minute of the power play, the second unit press, there's a good look from Dobson, barely deflected by Doc's foot, but that gets held by Wolstead. Habs end up 0 for 1 on the power play. Anderson then with a clear interference on a race to a puck. Very lucky that didn't get called. Habs end up getting a shot. The referees were very poor overall tonight. Missed calls on both sides. A few really bad penalties called on Montreal, which we'll talk about those especially. But yeah, just not a good night for the officials in Montreal tonight. I don't know if it's that way around the league overall, but yeah, tonight in Montreal, just not a good night to be an official, apparently. Habs do scramble. There's a near chance. Wolstead looks to have held the puck. The refs blow it dead very quickly. The Canadiens almost had a chance, but the shot was wide. Off the draw, the Canadiens press. Final minute, there's a chance. Matheson has a shot deflected in front, and we score. Alex Carrier gets the deflection there. He had given Hartman a headshot. A few moments later, Hartman kind of bends over, trying to draw the call. He doesn't. Carrier's a beast. Absolutely love him. Firstly giving Hartman that headshot, and then he gets the goal. Carrier's on his Linsanity run right now. He gets a career high in goals with that one. He scores with 52 seconds left in the period from Matheson and Demidov. A really nice tip on that. Canadiens take the lead as they probably should have had for a majority. Should have had probably for a majority of this period. The shots after the first are 14-2 for the Montreal Canadiens. So in the final 10 minutes, the Wild did not have a single shot on net, which is great for the Canadiens. They have a 2-1 lead after the first period as well. In the second period, the second line get a press. Slav goes to Hutson, but he's just cut off in the slot. The Wild gets some zone time. There is a shot, no screen. That means a good glove for Dobesh. Suzuki and Doc get on a 2-on-1. Suzuki has a shot off the pad, but Doc just misses the rebound. The first line with some good zone time right afterwards. Goulet has a chance, but a puck hops over Strubl's stick at the line. Damn it. There's a line change, a nice quick pass to Demidov down the middle, but the shot gets saved and deflected out of play. The Wild then push. There is a chance. Suzuki almost breaks loose on Quinn Hughes, but that does get held in by Quinn. Suzuki ends up poking it out a few moments later, though. Haight then dekes out Demidov, but the shot's just over the net. That was a good look for Hunter Haight. The Wild do get to pressing after a near 3-on-2 for the Canadiens. The Wild cycle it, and eventually they score. There's a shot by Faber that just beats Dobesh clean. He gets his 11th goal of the year, does the nerd wearing glasses. If you've seen Faber's headshot, he's wearing glasses. He's very Sean Avery from, what is it, NHL 12, where he has the glasses on, I think. So yeah, Faber with his 11th of the year from Kaprizov and Hinostroza. Vinny Hinostroza, good to see he's still in the NHL. The Wild tie the game up at 2, about halfway through the second period. Halfway through the game, too. The Wild do look for the lead. The shot saved and the rebound held. There's a bit of a whack, and four Habs surround the Wild player. I didn't see who it was that took the whack. No punches, they just gather around him. That was kind of fun. Habs do get a push. Andy almost runs over Wallstead, but just avoids him, thankfully. There's a good push for by the Canadiens after the Wild had kind of gotten momentum away from the Canadiens, especially in the second period. I think by this point the shots were probably Not by much, though, but the shots, I think, were like 7-3, 7-4 for the Canadiens, so... Or for the Wild, I should say. So, the Wild were getting a bit of momentum. They were playing well. Good shift for Demidov. He has space. He ends up giving a shot to Struble, but that gets blocked. Demidov gets back on it. He finds Hutson in the right circle, lays off a Ovi-like one-timer, and the Canadiens take the lead back just over 2 minutes after the Wild tie it back up. Lane Hutson with a, again, new career high in goals. 9th goal of the year. He scores from Demidov and Struble with 8:25 left. A nice shot from Hutson. You can tell he's slowly starting to get way more comfortable with his shot. He's starting to really get those scoring opportunities, and he's getting really good at spotting when he should be shooting and when he's going to score. Would love to see Hutson end the year with like 15 goals. I don't know if it's going to happen. He needs 6 goals in the last 30 games, which might be a bit much to hope for, but if we can finish with 12, I think that would be a nice stat for him. Hell, just getting double-digit goals as a defenseman is pretty solid, but we'll see what happens. I would assume at least 1 goal in the next 32 games is possible. You would hope. So the Canadiens have back the lead. They press for the 2-goal lead. Demidov with a nice check on Faber to get the puck. Suzuki with some nice speed to break in and get a puck into the corner. Doc ends up beating a high stick after Wallstead had covered a loose puck by his pad. There's no call there. The Wild ice a puck with 4:20 left. Caufield, as I put in my notes, not Caulfield, but Caufield, has a good shot with 2:30 left. Hartman gives Doc a few shots for standing near Wallstead for some reason. The Zuccarello shot deflected out of play at the line. Habs then go to a power play, a very dirty interference by Ryan Hartman on Nick Suzuki. That does get called, thankfully, with 1:39 left. And 25 seconds in, it's going to be negated because Marcus Foligno... This is where we get the first of 2 really bad calls. So the Canadiens are trying to get into the zone after a Wild clear. Marcus Foligno is skating backwards. Lane Hutson's about 5 feet from him. Actually, even that's being generous. I'd say 7 to 8 feet. He's a good number of feet away from Marcus Foligno. Foligno is skating backwards. He gets a bad piece of ice, falls over, and Lane Hutson gets called to for a trip. He is nowhere near Marcus Foligno. I have no clue how Eric Furlat called that. But to start the third period, this is very telling, he would go over to the penalty box and apologize to Lane Hutson for calling that as a penalty. I have no clue how that gets called. And this is one moment that I would say there should be an official review or an official mediator of some kind. Just a guy who looks at penalties and phones down, hey, that's not a penalty, reverse that one. Not to call in and confirm penalties, but just if there's a penalty that's so egregious like this one where it's like, yeah, no, that should not be a penalty, call in and make it official. We're so close to, just like with baseball, having the robo-umps. I feel like, are probably a good 15 years, 20 years out from having computer refs, which I would be very happy with. Because I'd imagine, well, they're probably going to call things a little more stricter. It means bullshit like this does not get called. So the Canadiens, as a result of taking a penalty, I guess, are 0 for 2 on the power play. Suzuki on the 4-on-4 looks to do it himself, but he doesn't get a scoring lane, unfortunately. There's a missed trip on Slavkovsky to end the period. The fans chant, "Ref, you suck," afterwards to Eric Furlat. That is very valid. So, the Canadiens, with a 3-2 lead after the second period, they lead the shots 24-12. So, they still got 10 shots in the period, but the Wild also got 10 shots in the period. So, the Canadiens outshooting the Wild by double. However, the Wild had a much more competent second period. We'll see if they can do good hockey things in the third. Speaking of which, hey, we're getting to the third period. The Wild can barely get in for their power play. Habs are 1 for 2 on the penalty kill tonight. Then again, that gets, 25 seconds in, you had maybe 30 seconds of power play time to start the third. Really not much you could do unless you were go right from the get-go. Matheson gets a high stick. There's no call. Canadiens look to set up. There is a good look. Wild do eventually ice a puck. Habs go to a power play, and hey, Eric Furlack is the one who calls it. Strome is called for a very clear trip on Nick Suzuki. The Wild do clear it first. Habs get set up, but there's a Demidov shot out of play. Hutson has a hold off of a Slavkovsky shot. That almost gets cleared. Really, really nice. It was a low, what would have been a low clear, but Hutson just gets his body in front of it, keeps it in. That's nice. The Wild do clear late. There's a puck battle in the Habs zone. The Canadiens go 0 for 3 on the power play. Evans does a really good job covering Tarasenko along the boards. Doesn't let him get a shot or a pass off. Evans has looked good since coming back. I think that his defensive play is really helping the Canadiens out, especially on the penalty kill. I think that having Danault and Evans as your centers is really solid, and if you were to have Andy and Veleno, I don't think I'd have much of a problem with that. And then your third unit is, what is it usually, Suzuki and Gallagher, I think? Because for some reason most teams are going three penalty kill units now. I have no problem with that, actually. I really like those units. The blue line can be fixed up, again, just a little bit, but I had no problem. I actually saw Hutson out there killing penalties for a little bit, and I thought he was all right. So, yeah, Evans, again, I thought he had a very solid enough game. The Wild do look to break Dobesh, or as I put, break does. Hartman has a low shot held with just about 11 minutes left. Dobesh gets tripped up by Hartman, and he dives to try and draw the call. Unfortunately, the refs don't buy it, as Hartman probably should have been gone after tonight. But hey, you know what? Marty scratched our enforcer when the Wild have their big enforcer in the lineup, so, you know, what does he really know? The Wild press, we get a scramble in front. Several times there's a whack, nothing in the net, good clears. I believe this is when... no, it's not. It's on the next chance. But yeah, good scramble in front for the Wild. They just can't tie the game up. Gallagher has a hard hit into the boards on Jacob Middleton. That's right in the numbers. We got a penalty coming up. Middleton immediately gets up, goes after Gallagher. Andy steps in. There's a bit of a scrum, but alas, there is nothing there. And it actually isn't the Gallagher penalty being called. Hutson is called for holding the stick. And on the replay, while they're showing the Gallagher hit on Jacob Middleton, you're trying to get a look at the penalty, and there's nothing there. Lane Hutson gets called for holding the stick, or hooking, sorry. It's called for holding. Hooking, I should say. And it looked like there was zero penalty there. I have no clue what the refs saw there. The second bad penalty they called on Hutson tonight, I really hope he doesn't start getting called for really bad things that he doesn't even do. And it's just called because he's around there. Because I know Brendan Gallagher, even though he kind of deserved the reputation, Gallagher had those called a lot against him over the years, especially in goalie interferences. Thankfully, Hudson's a defenseman and not a forward, so he likely won't have to worry about goalie interferences as long as he's shooting from anywhere aside from, 3 feet in front of the net. But I don't know. With how good he is offensively, I'd believe that he could probably get right to the front of the net at some point. So the Wild get in the zone, they set up, and holy shit, save of the night. Kaprizov gets robbed by Jakub Dobesh on a very good sprawling save. Almost a wide open net. Dobesh just pulling his best Hasek out of his ass, dives in front of the puck, basically saying, fuck it, YOLO. And he makes the save. That's probably the best way to put that, actually. I bet you guys haven't heard YOLO in years. I guarantee it. Shout out Project X. And 21 Jump Street. Just watched both of those movies last night. 21 and 22 Jump Street. Not Project X. Might watch that tonight, actually. Rewatch it tonight, because it's been a while since I've seen Project X. That was a very fun movie. There is an early whistle. Habs do get very lucky. Kaprizov immediately looks at the ref like, that was loose. And, the ref already blew it dead. He can't say, like, oh, okay, well, just keep play going. It's just, hey, sorry about that. So I think it's safe to say that the Habs got the worst end of the stick eventually tonight. And then we go 5-on-3 after the Habs clear to center and the Wild set up after a Hartman shot gets saved. This is where we go 5-on-3 for 45 seconds. Matheson with a clear as day trip on Matt Zuccarello. I want to like Mike Matheson. I really do. But it's at times like this that he does some stupid shit and makes me think, my God, we have this guy until he's like 36 years old. Please tell me there's someone who still wants to trade for him. So the Wild end up calling their timeout because how often do you get a 5-on-3 and also to rest the guys? The Habs do get a clear off the draw, though. Wild end up setting up. Habs aren't able to clear. The 5-on-3 does eventually end, so the Habs at least kill that one off. And the Wild score maybe 3 seconds after the penalty to Lane Hutson ends. It's about 7 seconds after, but still a very short time after the Hutson penalty ends. And yeah, Vlad Tarasenko, he gets a rebound on a sprawling Dobesh after a Kaprizov shot is saved. Tarasenko with his second of the night, the second power play goal of the night for him as well. He is now up to 13 goals. I remember earlier in the year, but he just was not scoring. He's gotten somewhat hot recently, including 4 goals in his last 2 games now. He scored twice against Toronto, too. So yeah, Tarasenko scores from Kaprizov and Zuccarello. That goal comes with 7:20 left in the game, so we're probably going to overtime. Damn. Hutson and Carey weren't able to contain the flurry either, by the way, because there was a couple shots in that short time span, so Habs are 2 for 4 on the penalty kill. Caufield ends up taking an elbow from a member of the Wild after a whistle. There's no call because why would there be? Habs with some good first-line pressure in the zone. Carrier hits the post off a pass from Caufield. Damn, Carrier's looking good the last 5 or so games. Wallstead holds on a chance with Suzuki at the doorstep. Habs do keep momentum on their side. Kapanen right in front of the net. Another shot gets held, not giving Cappy that chance. Habs ice a puck with 4:40 left. Spurgeon is a shot held. There's a Kaprizov shot, glove down. Habs end up icing a puck with 3:55 again, so 2 icings within a minute. You don't want to really be doing this when a team as deadly as the Wild are the team you're icing the puck against. Galley and Anderson along the boards with a good battle. Matheson has a shot deflected wide. There's another shot from Matheson held with 2 minutes left. Vlano has a backhand off a pass from Evans. That's stopped. Habs ice again the puck with 1:28 left. They press in the final minute. Caufield gets cross-checked. There's no call. Good possession. The Habs get to cycling. There's a few chances. There's a screen in front for the Canadiens. Caufield's got the shot in the right circle. He takes it, and he scores. Cole Caufield, the king. I cannot tell you how clutch Cole Caufield is. He is tied for first in the NHL with 7 game-winning goals. And what sweet victory. Cole Caufield with 15 seconds left buries it behind Jesper Wallstead. A fantastic shot. Barely gets by him, especially that's shout out Phillip Danault with the screen in front. Caufield gets his 25th goal of the season. He scores from Suzuki and Hutson. 14 teams passed on Cole Caufield. 14 teams looked at Cole Caufield when he was in his draft year in 2019 and said, you know what? Nah. We don't need a 40 goal scoring forward. We don't need, elite hands. We don't need a guy who can play on and off the puck. We don't need that on our team. That's stupid to think about. Why would we want that? Why would we want a guy who has an elite shot? He's small. He's a little small for us. 14 teams passed on Cole Caufield. I believe including the Minnesota Wild, if I remember correctly. The Montreal Canadiens robbed the 2019 draft blind of Cole Caufield. A beautiful, fantastic, incredible shot by Cole Caufield. And yes, I can confirm. Okay, they at least took Matt Boldy to the Wild, so that's not bad. But the Jersey Devils taking Jack Hughes. The Rangers taking Capo Caco. The Hawks taking Kirby Dach, which eventually doesn't work for them. The Avs taking Bo Byram. The Kings taking Alex Turcotte. The Red Wings taking Mo Seider. The Sabres taking Dylan Cousins. The Oilers taking Phil Broberg. The Ducks taking Trevor Zegras. The Canucks taking Vasily Podkolzin. The Coyotes taking, Victor Soderstrom. The Wild taking Matt Boldy. The Panthers taking Spencer Knight. And the Flyers taking Cam York. All before Montreal at 15 robs the draft of its best player in Cole freaking Caufield. Goal Clutchfield, if you will, with 15 seconds left. My God. So the Wild pull their goalie before the draw. They're pulling a Washington Capitals when, I think, it was Kotkaniemi. I'm pretty sure it was Kotkaniemi scored. No, I think it was it was Domi, actually. I think it was Max Domi scored a squeaker on the Capitals, and right off the draw, the Capitals had their goalie pulled, and Armia put it home 2 seconds later. 2 fastest goals in NHL history. Was really hoping to see something like that tonight, but unfortunately, it wouldn't. They Wild win the face-off. They do press. There's a chance in front. A nice pad save by Jakub Dobeš. That's stopped into the corner. There's a Kaprizov pass blocked that goes behind the net. But that's it. The Habs run out the clock the last 15 seconds, which, to be honest, kind of felt a little like 3 hours. Just a little bit. And the Canadiens hold on. They win the game 4-3 in regulation off of a Cole Caufield snipe shot. A beauty from Cole. Canadiens, like I said, they win it 4-3. The final shots, 33-19 for the Canadiens. So almost doubling the Wild in shots. They were more than doubling them in the first. God, what was that? 7 times the shots they had? Jesus. So the Wild would actually have a good second and a relatively good third period. They just lost. They just lost to a team that outplayed them. That's really as simple as it is. The Wild, I can't say running out of gas because we're only 15 games into the year. It'd be delusional for me to say running out of gas, but the Wild on a little bit of a slump right now. I think they're 4-4-2 in their last 10, I believe. So yeah, the Wild probably did want to get the win tonight. They just didn't. They just really didn't. So the Canadiens with a big statement game, even if it is the Wild again, who are coming off playing the second half of a back-to-back. They needed a game like this after the way they played against Ottawa and still somehow won. They needed a game where they could feel good, go out, dominate, even if it wasn't on the scoreboard, just go out and get a feel, play the game that they wanted to, which they did for just about 55 minutes, I would say. There's maybe 5 total minutes in the game where it was like, yeah, the Canadiens didn't really play that well. But, again, 55 out of 60, certainly better than 10 out of 60, the way they played against the Ottawa Senators. So, yeah. Regardless, that does it for the game. We're going to get into the stats, and then work our way on out of here because you guys got some stuff to do. This review's also probably coming out at 1:30, which I apologize, I'm half an hour late. I was up talking with some family. So, yeah. Nick Suzuki, who else, leads the Montreal Canadiens with 15 goals, 40 assists for 55 points, including 4 points in his last 3 games. Lane Hutson has 9 goals, 43 assists for 52 points. He has 1 goal and 6 assists in his last 3 games. very damn good. Cole Caufield with 25 goals and an additional 24 assists for 49 points this year. He has 4 goals and 2 assists in his last 3 games. Caufield's getting hot. Your defense is terrified. Ivan Demidov, with 11 goals, 32 assists for 43 points, including 4 points in his last 3 games. Good for you, Demi. Juraj Slavkovsky's got 19 goals, 21 assists for 40 points. Would love to see him tie his career high in goals this game, but there's always next game, which more than likely, probably will. Noah Dobson, 9 goals, 22 assists for 31 points for him. Oliver Kapanen, 16 goals, 11 assists for 27 points. Mike Matheson, 5 goals, 18 assists for 23 points. Zach Bolduc with 10 goals, 8 assists for 18 points. Josh Anderson with 11 goals, 6 assists for 17 points. Alexander Texier, who's unfortunately hurt, with 7 goals, 9 assists, 16 points. Alexander Carrier, he has 5 goals and 11 assists for 16 points. He's all of a sudden getting hot. Remember when he had like 4 assists 20 games ago? Yeah, me too. Brendan Gallagher with 4 goals, 11 assists for 15 points. Alex Newhook, who's unfortunately still hurt, with 6 goals, 6 assists for 12 points. Jake Evans, 5 goals, 5 assists for 10 points. Kirby Dach, who is fortunately not hurt anymore, he has 5 goals and 2 assists for 7 points. Jaden Struble with 7 assists on the year. Phil Danault in his time with the Canadiens with a goal and 5 assists for 6 points. He's actually not been that bad at all since returning to Montreal. Sammy Blais, who is, again, unfortunately a healthy scratch with 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points. Joe Veleno with 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points. He's on a 6-game pointless drought. Caden Gooley with a goal and 2 assists for 3 points this year. Arbor Jacki, who again was a healthy scratch with a goal and an assist for 2 points. And because he didn't play, his streak stays at an 18-game pointless drought. Noah Beck, apparently. Owen Beck, who is back in Laval, has a goal. He is also on a 7-game pointless drought in the NHL. Patrick Laine, who is unfortunately still hurt. Florian Jacki and Jared Davidson all have an assist this year as well. Laine, I know he's somewhat close. Fingers crossed he comes back before the Olympic break, because that'd be awesome. As for the fighting statistics, Arbor Jacki leads the Canadiens with 7 fights. Josh Anderson and Jaden Struble each have 2 fights. Joe Veleno, Caden Gooley, and Florian Jacki all have a fight in the big leagues. As for the goaltending, Jacob Fowler still leads the Canadiens with a 15-5-3 record, a 3.01 goals against average, and an .887 save percentage. The only stat that went down, his save percentage by .001. So that's very average Jakub Dobeš game. Samuel Montembeault with a 9-6-2 record, a 3.44 goals against average, and an .873 save percentage. He's going to eventually get it up there. He's been really damn good since getting recalled from Laval. And Jacob Fowler, who is back down in Laval as of right now. He has a 4-4-2 record, a 2.62 goals against average, and a .902 save percentage with the lone shutout for the Canadiens season. As for the standings, which I think now is the time where we're going to really start looking at the standings, the Canadiens, through 50 games, have a 28-15-7 record. They are currently 3rd in the Atlantic Division with 63 points, 1 point back of the Detroit Red Wings, and 3 points back of the Tampa Bay Lightning. However, the Lightning do have 2 games in hand on both the Red Wings and Canadiens. So, right now, we're a little bit deadlocked with a Montreal and Detroit playoff series. It's just a matter of who gets the home ice advantage. More than likely Montreal, let's be honest. So, there's that. As for the wild card teams, we are 5 points up on the first wild card Boston Bruins and 6 points up on the second wild card Buffalo Sabres. Right behind the Buffalo Sabres, the Toronto Maple Leafs, as the standings starting to get a little bit more clear, as kind of every team aside from the Rangers and the Blue Jackets, are still in the hunt for the playoffs. That being Jersey, Ottawa, Florida, Washington, and Philly also involved in the wild card race. I really hope it stays like this until the last 2 games of the year, because imagine the insane scoreboard watching that the National Hockey League fans, myself included, would have to be doing for that game. That would be very fun. Now, regardless of that, that is going to do it for this episode of HabWrap. Thank you all so much for watching. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you are on YouTube. Hit the follow button if you're on Amazon, Spotify, wherever you might be listening to the podcast on. And also, don't forget to share the podcast with anyone who you think might enjoy listening, such as a fellow Montreal Canadiens fan, a hockey fan who's maybe looking for a Canadiens podcast, or someone who you think just might enjoy listening to some fat kid from Quebec talk about the Montreal Canadiens for half an hour after every game. That is going to do it for this episode of the HabWrap. Again, thank you all so much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. And always remember, no matter how good we are like last year, how good we are like this year, or how fantastic we'll be in the future, go Habs go, at Montreal. And say with me, everybody, c'est la boo!